Cameroon, una do, una do. Um, Obviously, it's not straight. Una hosted different of the channels internet, obviously, and I just don't tune in again to make sure say family on a good evening once more. I just say repeat myself because I think people are going to be time again. And I seriously want to apologize. I seriously want to apologize for the technical errors. And part of this is because I am so ambitious with my program that, and I seriously want for it to work, that I get means to do a live broadcast. Yeah, I do have means to do a live broadcast, just like I've resorted to backup channels, but I try to make it a bit sophisticated because this is a business that I enjoy doing. I love broadcasting, and despite the technical difficulties, I am of the opinion strongly that one day I will get over this. I mean, it's got to involve others. Remember something, Rome was not built in a day. Also remember this, that most of the channels that we see today, powerhouses, I'm talking about serious media houses, the BBC, the CNNs of the world today, the MSNBCs, the Rockley, the RT, the Press TV, all of them had problems of their own in one way or the other. They had problems of this nature because technology is fast when it comes to electricity. Normally it does let people down. There are always technical glitches, but they learn over a long period of time and they've got the means and ways and the ability, the resources to keep trying and getting it right because there's many things that they go into it. So normally, yes, hi Mr. Kamara, thank you very much. And thanks to everybody for reaching me. So I believe one day we'll get it. And I really do appreciate you, the audience, that have been exercising patience with me. Because obviously there's a message here to be heard. So I appreciate the fact that you've been patient, and I admire your patience and strength. But one day together we will get it, and all of this will be behind us, and all we will be doing will be laughing at the past, celebrating the future. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Den and Now. I'm your host and presenter, Prince Kona. Today, we want to talk about a very, very serious and important topic we title the Gron Dry. This title not to video time. This title na title where the trend in social media, domestically, internationally, it is trending big time. Because why? It is a serious, serious matter. It sounds almost like comedy, and I believe saying so people yeah, we come up with them, and so then manage to put them out there. So even though it's serious, they appear also have the appearance as if there's nothing too serious about it. Yet there is a lot going on the ground. So today we get two special guests who want to introduce. And because the first application will work very well, we will bring them come together in a conversation which will have represented pro and con, for and against, which will have been very, very interesting. And because the two guests them are very, very interesting, yeah, subject matter they would like to discuss. And these two guests them, one of them, I mean, both of them are familiar. But for those of you who don't know, one of them is Mr. Victor Manley Spain, who's very active on social media. And the other is Mr. Mohamed Kamara, aka SuperMed, who is also very active. I can't say that these people, as a matter of ideology or ideologically, there's this huge difference, but there's a diametric opposition to both. They do find times when they do find a common ground to agree, because this is what gentlemen do. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got these two on this show today, but like I was saying, because we cannot entertain both of them at the same time because of the application that we're using, we're going to let Mr. Victor Spain go first. Yeah. First of all, we already start having very good conversation in the chat room, and this is from Mohamed Koroma, and I believe that this is Mr. Kutubu for those of you who may not know him, and he put a message there, the Gron Dry because I am team number one and mafia leader, and it's by Koroma, Hitman Kapu holding this fellow for dinner jail host. Okay, it is why we've got a discussion today, and we'll hear views from other people. And at the same time, we'll encourage you now for put feelings, opinions, in the chat room so we can get going. Let's see whether we're able to get Mr. Victor Manu Spain. Mr. Spain, I'm just waiting for you to send me a connection request. Let me see if I can do that from my end so we can bring you on. Don't forget to spin your mobile phone in horizontal fashion. And once you do, we should be able to have a split screen. Please get it. I am I want to welcome you to the program, friend.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, sir.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, technology never stopped amazing people. So we missed out on one in which we should have had both Mr. Mohamed Kamara and Mr. Spain to have a really, really superb debate. I have no doubt about this because I know these two gentlemen, but we're still going to have them both, periodically. So, Mr. Spain, welcome to the program then and now, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to Mr. Spain. The topic, obviously, sir, is the Gron Dry, which you will have heard, and I ended at the chat room. We don't begin the discussion already. So, will you, first of all, introduce yourself quickly, because we get a few strangers there today. Not everybody familiar with you. I know you have very familiar voice and face on social media, and then go straight into where you stand with the Gron Dry. Do you agree that the Gron Dry? And if you don't agree, why? And if you agree, why?
Yeah, good evening, listeners. Good evening, friends of Then and Now. For those who don't know me, now Victor Spain, now one of the oldest, members and Then and Now. Tonight, we will discuss a very important topic. Now, the history of Sierra Leone, the Gron Dry. Why make a column important? Because Sierra Leone, they at a cross stage. Waiting to happen, some of the things that will happen now, we country now, not ever happen, they new. So we in a transition stage in our country. So waiting to happen now, where people and nickname say the Gron Dry. And I don't know waiting for column, but I believe say nothing way been for happen under any kind of circumstances. Regardless of who have been in power. If we will need we country from move from point A to point B, this will happen so being get for happen. Me agree say yes, the Gron Dry we mean say people and they go through hardship right now in our country. But for change, for what we get the change, we will all the cry for us alone. This be always get for happen, regardless if na APC them in kind of power, if they want to do things properly, if for tell on the people the living conditions. Because what I say, do things properly. Let define that particular statement you want to make. Live according to you means now means say do things properly. In the past, Sierra Leone gets one of the lowest population of people with the work than unemployment of the country, very, very high. I believe say you go agree with me. But yet people they live miraculously. Why I call them miraculous? Somebody go there, he go work, he go grab the money. He not get office, he not get no place where he call a place where you go find living, but he get a nice house, he get a car. We under normal circumstances, that's not possible. So why would they see this kind of pressure? What would they see in our country today? Now, because this leader we don't come, he don't say no. He say we country cannot operate that way anymore. We person the work na morning, they say I forgo drag yanda, I forgo yanda. Then by the time we come back, even time, you don't get food na in table. No way they operate that way. I believe in just salon way man not work, you know, get nothing for the boy live. How? This was a miracle. So for make up a country grow, people a need for live within the means. Now waiting the happen na salon now, it will show the true picture of how the country did in terms of economy, in terms of employment. Now the true picture they reflect now the country. So because the leader where they don't enough say no, the thing of the past will be of the past. Now, not get me wrong, that's not the only reason we make the gun dry. But that's now one major reason we make the gun dry. And they try for land with people in a salon for live within the means. Do we people accept that? Do they accept that? That's a big question. How the people and see this kind of work demand they do? We say, we they ask and then say, we for live within we means. They say no, if man been the day in office, then they pay him 2 million, but yet they live like man where they get 1,000 leons. He said, no, that for stop. Because that get a negative effect on we country and on we standing now the world. So the gun die, it not dry for nothing. It dry for a very good reason.
So, but what if the people correct me that yes, grown indeed dry, you are admitting to it being dry, but you lay the blame on the doorstep of some other side where we show responsibility. And you appear like say you the credence and credit to another side where they try for rectify something. If this is the case, the people then go say, but what's wrong with the get for do with this way we the suffer? So is there any guarantee or something about why the people because now they complain so say the Gron Dry and some don't fed up knowing say we people and everyday people so then go they complain but this gun here is dry now so waiting the go on now again then they wait for like come for soak the gun or waiting the go on.
So me believe say the president knows say the Gron in dry one the Gron now
Victor sorry for coming in. You go get for calm down a bit now. You camera, so we go get like a professional vision of you. Yeah, thank you. That's better, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You see me clear or a bit dark?
Well, if light within your background for fine, yes, it's dark, but that's all. It's still all right because at least we've got a split screen and yeah, that's better. Yeah, okay, that's better. That's better. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So waiting at the try for say there is another reason. Maybe I will touch on that. Waiting actually make the Gron Dry. First, I don't argue say regardless of which government been come. For make we country move from point A to point B, the Gron will always get for dry. Regardless if Namion Party, NGC been kind of power or APC been kind of power, regardless within anybody talk. If we want to do things properly, we want for meet we commitment. By commitment, I mean we debt and where we don't take. We get debt and where we don't take. We get conditionalities.
Yeah.
And for make we meet with them conditionalities, then require we for stop. I mean the subsidies. Then require we for put start them up. Is that good for the people? No. But as a country, today, the country, then they watch them differently compared to how they watch them 3 years. Then they watch them say, oh, we don't begin for show sanity. We're able for live with we obligations. We're able for agree on terms and conditions and obey those conditions. The World Bank, we see recently, within the gear up for help with the IMF said, then they watch we because now places where we don't go, and ask for loan, and then do it. And then loans say, I know they come for free, then they come with interest, and then they come with conditionalities. And why the conditionalities? And they come because the person where they trust you money, he want to able for pay them back.
Yeah.
So one of the things we make we Gron Dry today now, because the president increased taxes them, we I believe say in finance minister no say not a brilliant idea, because that they discourage investment. And if we not invest na a country like Sierra Leone, it go tell on the people them, because work no day, and we get a population where almost 70% of the youth are unemployed.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we believe that we president able for stabilize, we economy, it go change this policy. I believe say this na short-term policy for convince we partners them, we donor partners them, for convince people them outside the international body, say Sierra Leone indeed able for meet to in obligations them. Say if you do business to Salon, if you sign, if you trust money to Salon, then go able for pay you back. Now then tier the creditors them, the people that they help you, now then tier then they look for.
So you say the people, yeah, like in the people, according to you, you sound like a very optimistic man. The disciplinary government apparently they institute now for the general good of the country, and if the people like in bear then go overcome, in the end it will be good. Is that do I paraphrase you right, sir?
Yeah, exactly. Because me believe say, waiting the happen so now either a vote winner or a vote loser. So no government, no one for come and raise taxes then, because if eventually it go cost them votes. You know that. Everybody know that. Say a country where taxes are high, things are bound to go. Expensive. The standard of living will become high, and in the case of Sierra Leone, not too much people, many people are not they get salary on a monthly basis. So things are bound to get tougher. But now a short-term measure forget the country moving forward.
So you think there's nothing binary about this? I mean, like an either-or situation. So this is not the only way where the government, in your opinion, you think can go, for take the bull by the horn, for get this thing straight, or could there have been another way, almost like a soft and hard Brexit, if you will allow me for use that analogy there? Could there have been another way in which the people will feel less of the pain while the government carry out in fiscal and monetary discipline?
Yeah, so there are two sides to this question. First, the lifetime of a president is a short one. It's only five years. So, if you get anything, what you want to do now, when you want them, where you want common power or where you just kind of power? That's not the thing.
Yeah, okay.
If you want to follow now a good footing, when you want them, now where you don't take 3 years into your leadership, or where you just knew, people then go feel the pain now, then go curse you now, then go against you now. Then after 1 or 2 years, then you do things the way they want them, then go forgive you, and then go ready forgive you more time. I will say this, they play into the vote side of war as well, because the president get 2 ways where they look at this year. Say I get the international community for please, I get my own people and back for please, but would I go displease at this initial stage when they just put me in power? If me na you, if me na me the president, I go take the same method. I go displease me people them now, get a good footing, then towards the end of my term, do things properly and get them back on my side. Because it's just a matter of policy change, and the people then will come back to you.
Right. So, Mr. Spain, all along, what you say, but of course, it doesn't come as a surprise, because in this conversation here tonight, you are for pro, pro government start and discipline and within the take. How much optimism do you sound very optimistic, but I still, you're there for ask the question. How much optimism do you have that this eventually will succeed and the people will prevail? Because this is about the people and the country laughing at last. Because if you go get for take measures of this nature, which are stringent economic measures at a critical time, now for let in the end, the country and its people will benefit. How optimistic are you that in the next 5-year term, because you also make a critical point that, which I agree with, that when the president come and decide for make a critical decision, now whose term, it sound like a rhetorical question, now whose term you go decide for begin doing anything in the, now towards the end or the beginning? We all know say, it go almost, in this particular question, it will be from the beginning. So how optimistic are you now the question say, at the end of this 5-year parliament, the president in target will have been met, that the people, there will be less pain for the people than it is now?
Yeah, on a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is the worst outcome, where 10, I should say, the president will fail, will succeed, forget the people of Sierra Leone now inside. I think, say, I will choose 2. I believe, say, the president, they take the right moves. Even people where they condemn and say, they fly, I believe, say, some of them fly and they get a reason. They do them for a purpose. This not to person president who have been supported before during the election, I don't agree with them, but it don't come, it don't show the people and say, yes, I may have made mistakes in the past, but this time I'm ready to work with you. I'm ready for take this country from point A to point B. So me, very optimistic. I believe, say, come the end of his term, he's going for give account of in presidency and tell people of Sierra Leone, say, well, I met things at this point, but I can raise my hand up. This is the place where I am going to leave my country. But if you not believe in me, when I will give me another chance, I can move on even forward.
Do you think the president in quiet one, because as we all account for Noam, he talks less, and most people, and we know him, say he's more of a man of action, and you won't believe that because it's obvious that from a military background and the discipline from a military background, so Yamane they talk Boku, so Yamana action man. But do you think, now that he's a civilian president and he's not saying very much, like you just mentioned something about the fly where most people they complain about, but if people let me they know what in the fly be about, because it's imperative that the people must know, because the president they fly around on the taxpayer the money, so the people then just get for know. So the fact that they tell the people there is no central forum in which the people and they know say, oh, the president don't fly Dubai for go sign some bilateral agreement or a go USA, he do this and the rest. Do you think that's hurting the president and his government?
Well, yeah, I think, say, on that side, the president not seems forget him right. I believe, say, he forget a spokesman, because he offers himself not a man way before talk. That is natural, you can't change him. That's how he is. I mean, he doesn't talk a lot. In fact, we call him talk and do. Anything we mistake talk, that means say he go do him. But now we don't know for talk a lot. So based on that, if we get a spokesman, we for the talk to the public. But on that side, it doesn't seem to get a grip on that. So people always a second guess what he go do in this country. Is he going there for leisure? Definitely no. Is he going there deliberately to spoil our taxpayers' money? I want to say no. I believe, say, me and you don't know the purpose why they go there, but if they go there for go sell the country, if they go there for get things in our country. Some people, the critics might say, well, from where the president they go, not get nothing in it. But I'm for encouraging people, these bilateral deals, they don't work in a day, they don't work in an hour. Some of them take years for come into pause.
Yeah.
So, like for example, I can give you an example. A deal will be occurred between the EU and Canada. It took about 7 years. So, if a president they try for work out business deals, they might not take 7 years, but they will take years. I mean, 1 or 2 years. They will take more than 1 month. So president will go talk to a businessman for invest in the country. And not go and bring the businessman straight away. With some people,
Yeah, but Mr. Spain, to one quick point, because it seems again like it's my understanding that the pain will come to an end at the end of this parliament, which is like, in terms of what we are talking about, it's like a long way away. Owing to low employment rate, especially amongst a youthful population, introducing regent, tax base that's sort of driving away potential investors. Is it not hurting the economy? And so, how long can our people wait?
It's a brilliant question, and the wait, nobody know like for wait for long. Waiting is a painful situation where nobody know like for fair itself. But like I said earlier on, the situation of the country is almost critical, it's almost unprecedented. Here is a country where IMF they don't give you red card. Say no, free tongue as at now, we not go do business with you again. And we country they operate on loans, and they operate on donor funding. So as a president, waiting for do with them donor partners here, give you terms and conditions. You go to the conditions because this tax increments are just one of the conditions. And do not forget, we country still under austerity.
Yeah, but sorry, I know see the try for development, but again raise a critical point where I want, point the thermometer to if you have been following the president, which I suppose you do, the president has spoken on many occasions in which he talk about real fiscal and financial discipline. Doesn't this appear as a contradiction? One moment you talk about base everything on revenue generation, where we know say not get for work, at least not at this time. But there's strong worded message that comes from the president every time he speaks, which is very rare, that everything will base, on domestic function. In other words, waiting and develop, from the tax base, which is kind of doing well. But the problem here is you can't be raising a 2 trillion tax revenue, and within the same time you are spending 3 trillion. Then obviously there's a complete deficit there. But you are laying emphasis that you're going to base everything on raising taxes. I'm not resorting to bank drafting, and at the same time you're going for IMF loans. How does this explain itself? Especially to people who are looking up, to the government, hopefully to succeed, so that things can, manners can fall from heaven.
So yeah, if I may understand you, you say you try for claim say the revenue where governments they raise, right? Then they spend more than that revenue, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Again, la go over and quick, la go over and speak again. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So according to the record, I believe that they raised something like 2 trillion loans in terms of, which is very good, by the way. The only problem here is they spend more. So in other words, when a government they commit itself, when a government is show seriousness in terms of economic discipline and the rest of it, what the government can talk about. If they see deficit by virtue of you raising taxes up to the tune of 2 trillion, and at the same time they spend 3 trillion, and some of them they see actually in the establishment of agencies were not necessary, extra ministries were not necessary, extra manpower then were not necessary. If you want really cut and down, this is what I'm speaking to. Then you still they go IMF and they take money. In 5 years' time, where are we? This is the question.
This is a very good question, and I think say I will answer in my best capability. Well,
sure.
So far we the governments, the arguments now, we they live within we income. We know the resort to borrowing for pay salaries. This nine are then claim since then come, they say they don't able for manage that well. Say they're able for pay. So far, we get one colleague we named Senior, a nickname. Now we then and now with the argue say this move wrong. Say governments not for the post say they're able for pay salary through a revenue collection. Me believe say that's not a very good example. They should say yes, the fiscal discipline where government promise the people them, then they before do them. Now I mean the figures them where you claim say then they raise 2 trillion but they spend 3. I'm not aware of that because the last time where they bring figures them, there was a surplus of like 1 trillion. So me believe say as a country the size of Sierra Leone, we should be able to live within that 1 trillion.
Yeah, but Victor, I think there's a confusion here. First of all, you need to go back again.
Evidence to that. Nine should say that they for live
Victor,
within
Mr. Spain, you need to face in the camera, please. You are going too much on one side, so we are losing you. Yeah, that's actually fine. Again, you need to listen to Mr. Senior. That's Alfred Senior. To the evidences that he provides. He makes the assertions and backs them with evidence. Some of them, of course, they are debatable, and all of them are debatable anyway. But this guy comes up with statistics and figures, and when you're talking about statistics and figures, it's critical enough for you to go and look and see whether you can find it and see some truth in it. So it's not one of those people who just throw in, crumbs here and there. No, and you know that. But in terms of what you just mentioned, first of all, the government is running a deficit. We know that. That's why, and I'm not blaming them. This is what they inherited. Let's get that clear. Let's get that absolutely clear. But they are running a deficit, which tells you exactly what I'm saying is right. So they have increased revenue intake, but expenditure is still high. So if the expenditure, if the intake is not equal, to the outgoing, then obviously it's operating on a deficit. So yes, they've increased it up to, I think, 2 trillion. And then now they're still spending something like 3 trillion. It might be 2.8. The numbers are not, accurate, but definitely they are operating on a deficit. And here there are economic problems. That's why the government is trying to rein things in. We are just highlighting certain things, that potentially they could do to help to cut down the expenses so that they can find a balance instead of an imbalance.
So you question, very good. You talk about the deficit, but you forget one thing. Where if you talk about expenditure, you talk about income, if you talk about borrowing, I know you mentioned anything about borrowing. Because now one of the indicators in the world wouldn't they look at the country. Is it borrowing high? Is it low? Are they borrowing at all? So
if you talk about go on. Sorry, go on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, what they talk about fiscal discipline, we also look how a government they borrow. Are they borrowing recklessly? Now them indicators here now with the judge a government by. Let me give you an example. In the UK, there is a perception that Labour is reckless with the economy, that they borrow more than the Conservative, which is not true. It's not true. This last Conservative government don't borrow past any other Labour government we don't ever did. But then they will say, oh, will they keep the deficit down? These are the other arguments we will put forward. So far, yes, they might. The pauper party might not able to control the deficit, but the borrowing has gone down. Or they not the borrow at all for pay with salaries. Is that not living within we means? Because this every month we resort to borrowing. Which country does that for pay salaries?
Mr. Spain, you mentioned one or two things. Of course, you forget that some of it is just political. And luckily, you did mention, yeah, like the UK government, yeah, talking about the two, opposition and the leadership. So it's all politics. You know that it's reckless. So somebody could be talking politics. It's not really serious down to crunching the numbers. And you talk about borrowing. We didn't talk about borrowing. Yeah, if you want us to talk about borrowing, I prefer no borrowing at all. But if you want to talk about that, we can talk about many critical things around that, okay? First of all, you look at inflation number is in double digit and rising. You look at the Leons is in free fall. You look at the bank, the commercial bank, which is meant to be independent, it's not independent. It cannot determine, the forex for the day because it's not fully in control. So the government is struggling. So there are many things there that we can mention and throw in. So I'm not trying, to, push the government under the bus or throw the government under the bus, like we can say. I'm just mentioning reality. And I'll tell you that most of these things, if not all of them, are things that they inherited, okay? But when you inherit it, and this is where you are going, that they have borrowed less, so credit should be given to them, which is, yeah, true, they borrow less, but then equally so, inflation is up. So even the wage hike that was given to people, they're not feeling it in their pocket. So there are problems. There are serious economic problems. That's why the government is putting all of this into place. We are just suggesting that if this is the case, why not do certain number of things so that helps, to cut down these things so that, the weight is less on the people's back, cut down inflation, manage interest rates, and there are clear things that they can do. This is what I am pointing to. I know it's easier said outside than done on the inside. So we will just talk small and left small. Would they come to an end of this first part of the program, we will get Mr. Mohamed Kamara, aka SuperMed. But I got one or two questions for you about Fanbul. Una, good evening once again, and una welcome to the program then and now. This is not the particular forum usai fake news not get no leg, where real news is here and is here to stay. And this is exactly what we are talking about here. I've been advised earlier on that we need for man up as a people, as a nation, as a community, that we need for engage, we need for discuss, we need for communicate, and let we left them after yuki talk them bien do. Let we bring the talk can na forum, na a melting pot, so we can discuss all the ideas there are. Other than maligning people in a corner, other than, smearing, ad hominem, and the rest of it, then kind of funny attack the day. That shows immaturity. When you come to a forum like this, where me and Mr. Spain are having a national debate, which they entertain a lot of people now, as I've seen at the channel and the chat room, we believe, say that we talk the right thing. So let we always tune to this channel. This channel is here to stay, and this is the truth. Thank you very much, Mr. James Bangura, and welcome to the Then and Now, and welcome to everybody. So, Mr. Spain, as I was saying shortly before we bring Mr. Kamara, who will be on the far left, the far left of you, Julius Maada Bio government is certainly by the books doing things that are commendable, okay? But some of them have been alluded to very ambitious projects, which could be affecting other places, and largely again because of politics. One of them is the president's flagship program, which has attracted over 25% of government budget. These issues are difficult to discuss because when they are discussed in this kind of context, it's like blame games are thrown here and there because you cannot be a critic when they talk about education. Then people who are emotionally attached will start telling you about 40, 50 years ago when we were the anthem, why money should not be thrown there. But there has to be some responsibility. Everything boiled down to fiscal discipline, sir. How do you see this project is going? And do you think this project, there's been too much attention to it and other places have been left, wide open or abandoned?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for bringing up this topic. First, let me start it this way. The journey to 1,000 miles begins with a step. Now, you may want to ask, why is Spain saying this? Why is it starting
exactly
with a parable? Now, this is where...
Please elaborate.
Yes. So, the free and quality education introduced in Sierra Leone by our President Bio has attracted so much, critiques. People are saying it's rubbish, it's a con, it's not even everywhere. But then there was me, senior, and myself, we are having a conversation. So I asked senior one simple question. I said, today, you know, a very good accountant. You know, a master in your accountancy. I say, the master where you be today, when it starts, the very day when you begin study for become accountant. Now,
yeah.
you not continue for discuss with me. Now, what thing that tell me? That tell me say, any project where you begin, now this world, it begin, you know, they begin 100%. It start shakily, but as they move forward, it correct itself. The people that will write the policies for that project go begin for look at ways them how to make them better, how to improving them. Now, nobody, no Sierra Leonean, no go out to say we don't need free education. If we watch the standard of education in our country, me, when they talk to you today, so I come out in my country as illiterate. 2005, I could barely read and write. So now I come to a country, we value education. Then give me the opportunity, then give me the chance for be able to talk to a man like Prince on a media like this. Why? Because then give me the chance to educate myself. So why am I saying this? I am begging my people, may them be patient. This is not the best policy we ever happen in our country. May them support this. It not go start well now. But for the condemn, for the cram down, say this now politics. No, not pull the political side of it. Lord begin for take. If a family gets picking the winner 5 picking them and then they pay 5,000 at least per time, at least not 25,000, they don't save them. So that not help for that family day. Can anybody tell me that's not a good thing? I'm talking outside politics. I don't know the political side of it.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, go on.
You talk something very, very critical. You say the free and quality education, they take 25%.
Yeah. And it's not even enough.
Yeah. This is a very high percentage.
Yeah.
Me, they beg with policymakers. The people that they look into this, may they find other ways of funding. May them talk to the private sector. Than for the use that huge sum of money we forgo into other areas, into this free and quality education.
Okay.
Because
thank you very much. Yeah, finish your point, Victor.
Yeah, that they bring stress to the country. If we get for do things and maybe we get project and the course, we forget some money for good, we know the drum, we put all per education, we not seem for the work better, and they bring the stress to the country again.
Okay.
So maybe
all said and done, Mr. Spain, your position obviously is there is an agreement to the phrase and the saying, the Gron Dry, but there is a reason which you try for outline at this interviewer why the Gron Dry. And correct me again if I'm wrong, that it worth it, the people they need for be patient, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Is that correct, sir?
Exactly, sir. That this time you understand. Say the Gron Dry. In fact, the Gron always dry in a salon anyway. All the time we don't
So pass where the rain can come and soak up. Then it gets more.
Alone the Gron Dry from who we born. In fact, 25, 30 years ago, we made it to line for us. So what you knew?
Okay.
What you knew about the Gron Dry?
And that's the question. What is new? Any last word? Any last word, Mr. Spain?
So me, they beg me people them, make them be patient with we leader. It seems for be honest. The Gron Dry now a vote winner. May they not worry. If within the 5 years things don't change, the power then at their hand. Now this Miguel for tell people them. And
Mr. Spain?
yes, sir.
Yeah, go on, make your final point. Yeah, sorry, I thought you were ending. Sorry.
The president serious about the new direction. He promise with people them, and based on that make the people in vote. So he not go let with people then down. He go make sure say the economy thrive for all man, and the ordinary man say for the selling market, he go realize them.
So the new direction is going to the right direction.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Spain.
Yes, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Spain. Listeners, for those of you who are just tuning in, I've been speaking to Mr. Victor Manley Spain. He's pro, you know, yeah, I mean, he's a patriot, by the way, and pro the president's policies and asking for patience that Sierra Leoneans should exercise patience. That sure enough, there will be light at the end of the tunnel, come what may. He's admitting to the difficulties now based on the subject matter that the Gron Dry, which he's saying yes to, but eventually it's worth it and Sierra Leoneans should be patient. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Spain, for appearing on the Then and Now.
My pleasure as always, sir.
No worries at all. Goodbye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we've been speaking to Mr. Victor Manley Spain.
Let me hear what is question one.
For and against, and Mr.
Yeah, hello. Hello, you get me? Why? Why do you get me? Yeah, okay, yeah, I get you very low, very low.
Oh, really? Okay. No worries. Let me see. Maybe my any difference? Is it much louder now?
Okay, yeah, much better
Hello?
now, much better now. Yeah,
much
yeah,
better. Okay. Mr. Jabi, your first timer, and we've already got the program going. So, what contribution do you want to make, sir? Will you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, let me be very, very, very factual with myself. I'm staying in America. $0.25. Give me 25 cents. Give me $1. So what's the thing? So one time we say Gron Dry, what are they there? Sierra Leone, the system just got for things. The system will be there on the floor, not of the system. They've been just now God help you so, my brother. Believe me. That God help you so. Because I saw the team be left unfold, take result to war. Some of we don't take small at the wall. We take small. God give that sense small. Before the war, I remember during 1977 there. Then 77, that people student demonstration. After then 10 days, up to the time of the war, you go see people related say, we must fight. We need war. So then any small thing people make forces. Any small thing people make all kind of issue out of it. You understand? We go damage yourself this way.
Yeah.
Without benefit. Nobody benefit. Similar to that happen so. These guys, they don't come.
All right. Mr. Jabi. Okay, Mr. Jabi, thank you for the point, sir. Yeah, we don't go too far into this, and I really appreciate you as a first timer. No, yeah, we've got your point, sir, and your point is the people in need for beer. These governments will come now, walk and they walk. You know, yeah, one guy, they need for beer. Not to the point, Sandy, sir.
Let people be innovative. Let people be innovative. Solomon, very skillful. We're very skillful. Before they push each other for, let people like all man they get bad, all man they get bad feeling, ill feeling. Tell can resort to other things. Why we not go push each other for what we able to do best?
Okay, that's the best.
They get some skillful thing the way they do it.
That's true. Mr. Jabi, thank you very much, sir. You make a very brilliant contribution, and I want to let you call back again another time because I go really like forget you on the show because you make
like timing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the contribution. That was Mr. Jabi, Jabi calling from Washington, D.C., trying to make a point to the then and now that people in need for beer, that after all, there's light at the end of the tunnel and things will get better, but they need to make the sacrifice. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, so that was another, don't forget Mr. Kamara. Okay, there he comes, Mr.
Yeah, hello. I want to say hello. Good evening to all. Good evening to all the listeners, Mr. Prince. And this now Mohamed Kamara, commonly known as SuperMed. And in relation to the
SuperMed, you hear me?
I hear you now, yes.
Okay, so you need to adjust your face proper because go be a small bit more. Bien, not before, bien. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, you see, so perfect. If you can keep in that position there, I think we will have a nice one. So, ladies and gentlemen, the man already don't introduce himself. You know, the man way most of una go know, if not all of una, obviously. So earlier on, we began Mr. Victor Spain, and for those who just to join now, we did talk about the phrase, you know, the Gron Dry. What did the Gron Dry mean? Mr. Victor Spain tried to explain them in a position of being pro that people need for beer. Now we get Mr. Kamara in a good debate. You always get for and against. So Mr. Kamara, I believe, saying a proponent of against. They are against. So Mr. Kamara, let's hear from you.
Yes, once more again, I want to say good evening to all you listeners, you viewers them as well. Me and Mohamed Kamara, come on,
no sound. Okay, it's okay now. So go on, it's okay now, sir. Yeah.
Yes, once again, me and Mohamed Kamara, commonly known as SuperMed. And indeed, the Gron Dry, the president himself don't acknowledge as such, say the Gron Dry. Are you getting me now?
Me they get you loud and clear, but remember, you need for watch yourself now the camera because you need for position yourself nicely because this video get for go far and wide. Yeah, I think say this position, if you keep on steady, it shows a professional angle like a split screen.
Okay, then thank you very much once more again, my brother. Yes, the president himself don't acknowledge say the Gron Dry. And to be honest, what they say the Gron Dry, this Gron Dry for can't go hospital self, they're not able to afford them. So this Gron Dry, the guy, no not a joke situation, a situation about life and death situation. And all this get for do with this current administration and policy. We have to say the truth. Them policy, they don't come up with them. It don't take over a year now. They need to work. You know, they do something where you know say they work, they change. But the policy, they need to work, they need to change. I want to bring our attention to even the bank governor. Where the bank governor come, where the Lions be the free fall. He say, it try to stabilize the Lions by auctioning nearly $10 million of reserve. And people them be caution them say, but this police make out so you know they work. You know what's making not go work? Because you can't auction them, now them businessman, them money the neighboring country will get money, now then go come back at the bank and quick and go back with that dollar day. So in any work, you get for look at the root cause. The root cause of the problems in the country right now where they affect the economy, serious one. Now the taxation policy, the way the government can with, and the concessions the way be there, but then taxes the way they remove. You they see that they kill business them up and down the country. Business then they close all over the place because of that. You know, businessmen they only do business when they know say they forget profit. There is no point in doing business when you money says where you put by the business, you work, you say this money not get for come out. So
Superman,
this is quite clear now.
SuperMed, allow me for interject. You know, yeah, you they go into a territory where, of course, we get for go into. And just a quick one, you talk about the taxation, which is, according to you, now the major problem now the way they cause for let the ground, you know, yeah, dry as people they say, and the concession and back way they remove. But you and I know say the concession you know, yeah, I mean they run rampant, you know, that all kind of people and be entitled to some concession. So nobody for let a government rein in for understand what they go on. We be rampant, we know this. Minister West, Minister Piquet, this person, that person, this NGO, that NGO, all kind of fiasco, government they lose hundreds of millions of euros. So for that government to understand and government put a stop to run for. So you will agree that they do have a point, you know, here for them to get to the bottom of this. The need for do the rigorous application there, such as the concession for put a hole on them, understand how it goes, or would I get it, would I not supposed to get. Evaluating
Okay, thank you.
Analyzing the information.
Okay, thank you again, Brother Prince. The concession where we talk about, not a private concessions they move. These are the concessions the way they give, but then part certain commodities the way they import na the country. Like for instance, if they cow with flour na a basic commodity where most of the staple food na flour would use. So the concession is there is instead of maybe they will tell you say go pay 10% taxation. This is just an example, but where because of na flour they come with, would they give certain amount where you need to pay for certain amount for the goods where you come when they pay for. So then they lower you taxes the way they pay for that flour day. So that will help the people who they import the flour in the country, when they go sell an affordable price because of the help the people them as a staple commodity. So when you pull up concessions there by the importers them, what thing they happen is the price they go up. Now make we see this big hyperinflation in the country.
It's obvious, yes, the price. It's obvious, yes, the price will go up. And for political reason, we can argue that because they remove that concession on one or two things. Therefore, this is all part of the problem because probably a concession will then go back anyway. But wouldn't you agree that because of situations where we go on, businessman they import tomatoes is in a flour, import flour is in a tomatoes. There was some confusion around. And for let a new government get a grip of the situation, hard choices had to be made.
Yeah, Brother Prince, that is very, very easy. You need to have a talk enforcement and withdrawing the concession. I make the government they put people the way they trust for me to make sure say they monitor all the goods the way they can at the country. The goods and then they come in isolation. Then they can't through reports them. Then get people and then go put there. We go monitor that process they thoroughly and make sure say when you count something, what you count now you count. Then go able to check them and then very, very straight and clear if they want to do one. But for them actually remove them concessions and they but them basic commodities and they and like country like we also where things are really, really tough, it get for affect people them seriously. Because people them, this is not about life and death situation. I tell you about to my brother. Now life and death situation.
It is true, Mr. Kamara, that it's a life and death situation. At least not as so gloomy as apparently the way you depict them, because people are still surviving. It's difficult, but they are surviving. But in any country, such as the UK, where I believe you are, if things are that bad, measures are introduced, such as austerity. We don't run at the UK for something like 8 years now. These are actions that has to be taken, here by responsible government, if I will say. So some of the actions taken by the government, if we will, look at it, holistically, was not because they wanted to suffer the people or put the people in a deep mess, because the government's first responsibility is the security of the people, which involves food security, provisions. So if they put measures into place and the people then suffer, they know that, but then they say the earlier speaker say no matter of time.
No, my brother Prince, this has not no need for happen at all. In fact, austerity and waiting do when they know say not a reasonable spending them. But what this government gets, this administration gets, now a policy for increased taxes them. Then feel that by that way they go able to generate revenue. But one thing where now one common way and call where English people they say a quick penny is better than a slow shilling. You know, if you get 10 people and where they raise on 1 million from, that will give you 10 million. If you decide for raise that to 2 million and now you only get 3 people, that will only give you 6 million. So you actually need to make enough because of the policy we don't adopt. And this policy they don't adopt for almost over a year now. It hasn't worked. And what do they see? Would they see an hyperinflation? This is not the biggest inflation where the country don't ever see 17.9%. That's a killing inflation. Even at worst period of the previous administration, where we get that Ebola in the country, inflation was 13%.
But they will easily say, to what you say, that the economy was in decline. And the president have said this on numerous occasions that he inherited a nearly, and they quote the president, he inherited a nearly bankrupt economy. So the economy been in decline. So it's not like, they take up and it been sound. And then at some point, they started losing it. Probably, according to you, they're not managing it well. But certainly what we know from them is they inherited a nearly bankrupt economy, an economy will be in a kind of free fall.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the president NBC. But as soon as the president says so,
what do you say, Mr. Kamara? What do you think?
Yes, but as soon as the president says so, as soon as the president says so, the former bank governor by then came out and said their own reserve when they get over $500 million US dollar reserve now the central bank need. So that's none of the sources it don't contradict the president. It will be open and clear.
How so?
Because waiting the president said that when he inherit a bankrupt, that means nothing.
No, Mr. Kamara. The president is on record for saying they inherited nearly, not a bankrupt, but nearly.
Yes, but if you say you nearly inherited a bankrupt something, that means nearly nothing already. Meanwhile, well,
yeah,
we know say
maybe waiting suppose for Bindede, for be multiple of waiting offended, and not only the reserve. There are many other areas, here that we are talking about. That's just one area, and maybe the reserve should have been far more than 500 million. I don't know, but the idea he said nearly a bankrupt.
Okay, brother, please let's take it this way. African countries, they never run with budgets and surplus. We always have deficits. Now make the point, the previous speaker will be time for talk say we get surplus. Never. We've never had surplus. Since during the colonial days, they time for talk, so we'll just begin independence. But since ever then, we always get a deficit. So they never get money extra when they left.
Now, you just generalize African countries. Italics in a taboo, and this doesn't sound like it's right, because you got countries like Botswana, and I could name a few countries because you just talk about wider Africa, which is not so. There are countries that are operating on surpluses and doing very well.
Yes, but Prince, I'm saying most. Okay, if you begin to talk about the country, then maybe you only go call Botswana, maybe 1 or 2 countries. That's about it. But every country where you did so, this country, the United Kingdom, they always gone on a deficit. America is always on deficit. So that's not the main issue here. The main issue is about policy. This government adopts
No, SuperMed, you're making some outrageous allegations or pronouncements here tonight. The government running on a deficit is not a problem or is not serious. No, it is serious when a government is running on a deficit budget, because their country there where you mentioned, they get other means for pushing that. We don't. That's the thing. We don't even have the appropriate reserve. So when they run on deficit, it get a massive impact on us. You can't be spending or making 2 million and spending 3 million. Let's say your household, for example, your incoming revenue is £1,000, and then your outgoing is 2,000.
So every time you're just digging a hole, and the holes are never covered. In fact, they're multiplying. That's not good economics, is it?
But that's not good economics. We know that. We know say that's not good economics. But the type of tell you waiting at the reality where they happen at the world. Nearly all countries in the world they run a deficit. That's just a fact, including all the major economies.
You're making a comparison. That allegation, that pronouncement is tall. It is true, but how can you make the comparison of a UK running a deficit as opposed to Sierra Leone? Think about it.
No, but I'm just telling you, even the major economies have a deficit. But let's talk about it. In Africa,
you're only doing it to minimize the impact of the deficit, which, according to your logic, is not the problem in Sierra Leone. That's why you're making this comparison to major Western economies, industrialized economies.
Brother Prince, let's get this fact and clear here. The fact now so is, now my time for highlight so is, this government now in policy they create this hardship. This hardship is not supposed for they like it is too. Because what you do, all the policy when the government they adopt, then they work. In fact, the government don't come in. The bank governor where they now don't promise. It take 10 million from we own reserve. He said the auction for let the Lions go stabilize. What do we see? The Lions there in a free fall, like we say earlier. The Lions just a year ago now be 7,400 Lions to $1. Now it's about 9,500 Lions to $1. That's over 200,000 extra camp and tap. This is just a year. That don't tell you say the policy where this particular government, this administration, they take any they work. And to be honest with you, if this administration serious for tackle the issue in that country, the finance minister, the bank governor should not be in the job as I'm speaking now because they don't fail the nation miserably. And people, this is like bring up untold suffering to the people of Sierra Leone. People are suffering, and this. We're some of one in the diaspora. We're fortunate enough we're able to grab our money we eat. But this, like what I highlight earlier around this now about life and death situation. There are people in Sierra Leone like today where even the picking sick, the person grab their money and picking sick, and not even get the means for say, okay, this picking that come in the hospital. These are all because of this policy where this government adopts. So when they work, and the government has to know that them policy and they work. Because people don't talk them, people don't highlight them. The government, when they do something wrong, the key thing is I let you just go acknowledge yes, but this thing is wrong. Let us change course. May I look to other people, them other economics expertise, them where they advise worldwide now, where they talk and say, okay, for any struggling economy, any developing country in the global south, when they come more like a post-conflict country like we also, the main way we're not going to develop now for create employment. When I create employment, the country they able to develop. So I go for like attractive employment. I mean, they able bring a company able create employment. First of all, you go for create a stable society. Then we see these governments is where they don't come. Now, so harassment, victimization of opposition members. That don't create political instability. So this is on itself.
Again, with the via of Lily Beach, and the curve is too sharp. They blame the government and they accuse them directly. They say their policies are reckless and it has failed, and the rest of it, and the need for change cause. Would you agree that some of these positions and advices have come from the international partners, such as the World Bank and the IMF? Are you also condemning them? Because at one point, one side of you is saying, they should be seeking the advice of renowned economists, who've advised sober nations, serious nations around, and other financial institutions. And sure enough, I think you will put the World Bank and the IMF in those places because we're borrowing money from them. So they have been advising or are supposed to. Are you also throwing them under the bus that they've not been giving these people advice or sound advice if you agree that they have been doing this?
Not at all. Don't forget, Brother Prince, the IMF and the World Bank are a business. Then get money them where they say they seek for get side for loan them so that they will get profit into them. So they're only gonna advise you.
It's bad advice. That's what you're saying. So they are part of the bad advice to the government. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. But the government themselves, they say for able to advise themselves because then for they see this clearly. When they say people and say, marry them for sweets, now the bachelor's eve. You don't get adopt policy for months on end, and the policy only they bring on suffering and hardship to you people. Them, you for not say, but this policy is not working. Let me evaluate this policy. You know, policy not for just adopt them, if we evaluate them, look into them, say, but what make this policy, why make where this they happen, so let do something, we're gonna make this thing change. You see,
yeah,
so
but
I believe many people,
Mr. Mohamed, this government has got a 5-year parliament, a 5-year term, democratic mandate for a 5-year parliament. You might be making, some very legit and good points, but we're talking about time. You are saying, they've instituted or introduced policies that are definitely not working and people are still suffering. You need to adjust your camera, SuperMed. We need to see you proper. You are saying definitely that the government has failed and they should change course. It's only 1 year. Don't you think that they are beginning to rejig and readjust? Don't you think they are beginning to rejig and readjust some of their policies already? Don't you think that they are aware that some of the policies just didn't work? Don't you gonna say that whatever they were doing it in good faith because according to what they inherited, they had to do some adjustments. Those adjustments, some of them may not work and they will need to change course. But policy, you don't have to take a sharp turn just like that. It has to be well thought through. So some of them, yeah, they may have taken it in a knee-jerk reaction way, trying to downplay the previous government and they got it wrong. But definitely when it comes to policy, it needs to be well thought out through. Evaluate what you've got, analyze what you've got before implementing. So probably that's what they're doing now. What's your take?
But Prince, I don't think they're doing it. Like I say so right now, tomorrow, they're not also all some opposition members, them, parliamentarians into parliament, court say then get a petition against them, which is all part of the political intimidation. And when you do that, it creates political instability. You cannot entice investors them for going to any post-conflict country where they see political instability. They won't go there because they will talk and say, well, these people enable stabilize themselves first. So while they go invest me money, they put me money at risk. So now one thing I for sure say, they will like give one other example. You know the Salon Brewery. Salon Brewery, and they make beer and a salon and everything. This company, now a salon even get shares for the company. You understand? So this company not going to compete with international companies then. So what the previous administration did was for levy higher taxes on imported alcohol, so that the home-based company, where they employ plenty farmers them, where they plant the sorghum, where they use for making beer there. So that home-based company, they be able, they give them the opportunity by levying heavy tax for the imports. So many of the imported alcohol was not coming. So what will be happening? Most of the people, they buy the local alcohol. So that they create plenty employment for the farmers them, for the people who the company and they employ, and Salombi will be the biggest employers them. What this administration can wait and do? They lower the duty for alcohol. Can you imagine? They lower the duty for alcohol. Meanwhile, now the Salon Brewery is going to crisis again. Even the investment, when they partner with Heineken, now the Netherlands, the investment don't slow down as I talk. So I know people who they work there. Now even the farmers they don't begin go back because them sorghum they sell again. So can you imagine this is an home-based company where the government for support for men and develop because they create plenty employment. They open them to unnecessary competition. The S taxes for everything.
Was the brewery operating on profit?
It was operating on profit. If it not get the competition where the other big brand in the world they come with the imported beer. So now I make the previous administration begin that construction. It charge the imports them with high custom so that people don't go import them beer and many people decided and go switch for buy the local beer. So this will create, I think about the estimate was nearly 5,000 farmers where they produce sorghum, where they sell them to brewery for making them beer. So this will create thousands and thousands of employment direct and indirectly. You see, but by the government decides say no, then they lower beer in your duty. Can you imagine when they ace all the other duties them, then allow the imported beer in your duty for candle. That beer, the imported beer, when I make in duty candle, it don't kill the business for we own homegrown, one of the biggest company in the country. They went a Salon Brewery. So now Salon Brewery is struggled again. Why before, if you don't take shape, then revenue don't come up, everything. So the policies here, this is what I'm questioning. And let me give you another example again. There was a program for the airports, in Mama Airport, where the Chinese them, they don't even count the instruments them. This is not a flexible loan. A flexible loan in a sense, not to say when we give that loan to Salon we need for pay them upfront. No, Then they give now like over 10 years waiting called period, not a good enough period. They're not sure they can begin pay. Then get the interest per may not be even reach 1%. Can you imagine? And these people, they give you over nearly 400 million US dollar. Then they charge you an interest not up to 1%. This program, you don't see set to wait for create thousands and thousands and thousands of employments, wait for improve infrastructure, wait for improve the tourism sector in the country. What did this government do? This government suspend and force. How on earth you go suspend that program just because IMF they try for attract a loan from IMF when I'm just about nearly 200 million US dollars. You know,
yeah,
because of this money, no, they
Mr.
get a liquid cash.
Mr. Kamara, you seem not to have any nice words for this government. So let me ask you one quick question before we continue. Is there anywhere where you think this government is done well or is doing well? Is there anywhere where you will put thumbs up, here for this government? Remember, this is your government as well. You might be in opposition, but it's your government as well. So yes, it's good to be a critic. But what I keep hearing is like what you've just mentioned now. Like the brewery, for example. I know a little about it, done a little bit of research behind it. I am for the policy of lowering taxes, for locally produced goods. But what you need to do is to visit the president's agriculture policy. Then maybe you will see something in there. That's what you need to do, visit. And then you mentioned, what was the last point that you just mentioned again? Just a second ago, which I want to deal with, which is the airport. Okay, you paint a rosy picture. Yes. You paint a rosy picture about the airport. I'm for airport. I would have supported the airport in terms of jobs and the rest of it. But you're not mentioning about the airport, only the positives. And I think you should be able to give both sides, or even if you don't want to give both sides, you should give a level, a level criticism. But the criticism is like we're 400 million. And then low interest rate. What about the jobs? Who was it going to? When were they going to pay back? I know a little bit about the transaction anyway. And bear in mind that this president did not scrap the deal. Most people don't know that he did not scrap the deal. That deal is still on the table. So go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, Brother Prince. Again, you asked me, say, which policy or what thing I don't see say this government will do what thing called. One thing when the government be talk, everywhere in the campaign, when they talk about the free education, when we always call it the taxpayers funded education, I'll be give kudos to the government on that one very, very well. I'll be even happy. It was a laudable program. Everybody glad. It mean at one possibly praise that program, say, oh, this is a good initiative where this particular administration they come up with. But again, it's not just about when you get good idea then. How do you implement the idea? And even when we get information, say, even the education minister now, caution the government, say, Papa government, don't prepare this first before we come. Don't prepare them first before we come. Because if not prepare them, they get the tendency for just collapse per way. And now what do they see? The program is almost floundering. Because the infrastructure, the roots thing that will sustain the program, we are not being prepared. They not put them in place before the program kick off, just because of political waiting. Because the crowd I want to know, even without thinking about it, doing it, do all your due diligence and make sure say you do visibility study properly before you put the program on the floor slowly, and everything it catch up so well. Even a good program, they come out so bad. It's so disappointing in that sense. So back as well.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Kamara. Because from the pronouncements again that you're making, or the case that you're laying, or the premise, if I do understand it right, it's like everything was rosy in the past before this government took over, and things should just have continued as they were, that the groundwork had been laid, the foundation, everything was there, and it was all fine. Is that what you're inferring?
Not at all, Brother Prince. I never said everything was rosy. Not at all. Not at all. There were difficulties. Even in the last administration, there were difficulties. But what I'm saying here is, the last administration, the economy was in a certain area. But what we see since this administration took over, they brought the economy down. So what we're saying is, even if this administration could have not improved, if they could have sustained, look, for instance, when they took over, the leons to the dollar, the $1 was equivalent to 7,400 leons, and now $1 is equivalent to 9,500 leons. That on itself,
Well, of course, they will they will take responsibility, but they will equally say, or what if they equally say, the economy was in free fall anyway, so the Leons will be in free fall. They inherited a bad economy, a nearly bankrupt economy. So it will take a while for them to stabilize, hence why they were struggling with 10 million auction, which they got wrong, and certain things that they got wrong, but they were trying to stabilize it from what they inherited. Isn't this the case, sir?
Brother Prince, that argument can no longer stand. That argument can no longer stand because it's very simple and clear here to say it. If that economy was in a free fall, the Leons, when the economy is in a free fall, the Leons will just dive. We've seen it in Venezuela. You could buy something today for 10 million, tomorrow you go there, it's 50 million. So the economy was not in a free fall because
in 2012, what was the exchange rate, Mr. Med?
The 2012, the exchange rate was around, I will not know exactly, but I think from 2012 to the differences was not even up to 100 and something thousand leons. Can you imagine? This is how many years? The differences was not even to 100,000 leons.
So by the time power changed hands, or just before power changed hands, what was the exchange rate? Will you be able to recall that? All right, I think Med having some technical issues with the video there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're having a heated discussion here with my sparring partner. I like calling him my sparring partner. He's a very feisty guy. He's very, very eloquent, just like Mr. Spain before him, and tabling some strong issues regarding, government. Okay, someone is just helping with the. Not hearing me. I know, no sound. I don't know why. Hopefully we will find sound. Let me see if I use my right. Any sound now, please? Any sound? Is there any sound now, please? Can somebody give me a thumbs up to let me know whether there's sound? Yeah, Lawrence, is there any sound, please? Boaji Hills, any sound? Okay, good. Somebody just confirmed. Thank you, Adani Wuri. Thank you very much. Thanks, Spain. Tima Piman Mansari, thank you very much, Dinky. Wow, the response is fantastic. Thank you, guys.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are talking here on the Then and Now channel, the channel we're there for you and everybody. Usai truth will always prevail. A melting pot of ideas. Usai we discuss things, yeah. Joe Simona, my friend, welcome to the program Then and Now. We're talking about the Gron Dry, like the repeat, where truth will always prevail, where facts will always be facts, where fake news has got no leg to stand on. And again, I repeat, if you want to partake on the program, whatever device you're using, be it a mobile phone, make sure that you put it in a horizontal fashion, landscape, if you like. Let me see if I can get somebody. SuperMed, I see you. I will bring back in. I know Mr. Victor Spain is trying to come on the program again, but I just want to hear a word or two from few people. We've got few people that want to make a contribution. I think we should also give them a chance. We should give them a chance, honestly. I'm going to end the program in a short while, but let's see whether we can get a word or two from one or two people, who's been watching patiently. Yeah. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, I'll repeat myself. If you want to join the program, you want to make a contribution or two, make sure that your mobile phones or whatever gadget that you're using is in an horizontal fashion, in a landscape position. Okay? I'm not going to say that again. Bakari Sao, let me see if I can try you. So maybe you can opine quickly because I need to close the show. We spent far too much time than we anticipated we were going to do. Okay? Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are just joining the channel, yeah, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Mr. Bakari Sao, and I believe this is a first timer on the show. Mr. Sao, welcome to the program Then and Now. There's a little bit of a noise because I believe you're driving. Is your windscreen, your glasses, are they up? There's too much wind. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, that's clear now. That's very clear. Okay. So if you will introduce yourself quickly, I know by now you are sure of what we are talking about. Probably you want to opine, one or 2 points quickly or question, and then we can move forward because we've actually got a studio guest. Thank you.
All right, cool. My name is Sal. I'm calling from the state. Just few pointers, because I listened to the gentleman prior to me joining. He talked about this current government. As soon as they took over power, the economic drop. Now, the question I want to ask was the economy even what he's claiming it was then compared to what we have now? The government, the new dispensation inherited an austerity government. In essence, basically, it means that the previous government was basically not doing things right. Hence the reason why we went into austerity, because there was some irresponsibility that took place that led to the situation we found ourselves in. But he was painting a picture as if things were all rosy. So my question is, was the economy better than it was? Was the economy better back then as it is now? Because I'm confused, because I seem to understand he's more of a APC man. But I just want people to speak true to ears. And if a government inherits, as you rightly quoted the president, that he inherited a mere broke government, it means basically the economy was basically dangling on the basic on a one leg, meaning, and he talked about the 500 million. Wasn't that the same amount per cabal left in the reserve? So if he's referencing that, after 11 years, shouldn't there be some sort of dividends that would have come in? At least 5 or 6 million. I don't understand, because you were trying to, make him to explain that, but he seems to don't want to. At least there should have been some addition, because remember, we had a booming mining industry. The mining industry sectors were booming, and there were a lot of foreign exchange that was coming in. where were all that money? Where were all that profit? It seems like people just pocket that. So we should not be boasting of the 500 million that is in the reserve now, because that was left by Pakaba, right? Late Pakaba. So we should be talking about maybe an extra 500,000 on top of the one that was left. You know, I think if I'm to grade this current dispensation, I think they have some financial responsibility that they have put in place in terms of restricting themselves. I just hope it continue, because the economy was not rosy when they picked it up, and it won't just sprung up on its legs just like that. It will get a little bit tougher before it gets better, because it takes time for economy to gain some life. So I think with time things will get better. I understand in Sierra Leone we just think about today, we don't think about tomorrow. Hence the reason why you see people are anxious, because that's how you have gotten used to. But at some point we have to move, you know, and try to live or survive on an economy that can resist certain downfall. You know, like for instance, the Ebola. When we have Ebola, everything I want to be blamed on Ebola. Oh, we had a booming economy till Ebola came. But I mean, Guinea didn't cry the same situation. Liberia has all their mining company functioning. So I mean, what we had was a cosmetic, you know, mining industry that was going on. Hence the reason why it break down quicker. Because if they had put mechanisms in place, regardless of the Ebola breakdown, we would have still have those.
Okay, Mr. Sao. So your position here is at least they should. I think you make a couple of brilliant points, which I will be, and I believe the gentleman is listening because he's my guest, and I'm going to bring him back, and I'm sure he's going to address it. But I really do appreciate your contribution, and you make quite some critical points that needs to be addressed. And your position, I suppose, is to give the government of the day chance, and let's see where they are going, because obviously things were not that rosy, and they need to be given a chance so that we hope that they can prevail.
Of course, I mean, at this point, that's all we can do as citizens, because in 1 year you can't fix a broken economy that took 11 years to go into austerity.
Absolutely, and I absolutely,
in 1 year.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And again, once again, Mr. Sao, where are you calling from again, please?
I'm calling from the state. I'm calling from the state, Massachusetts to be specific.
Okay, Boston. Okay, thank you so much, my brother. You know, for tuning on to the program and making such a valuable contribution. And please come again. Thank you, Sao. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was just another brother. You know, making a quick contribution, making quite some critical point. And he's a first-time caller calling from Boston. Let's see whether we can bring another person in quickly. I know, Lawrence, you want to speak. Have you got your phone or whatever gadget you're using in a horizontal fashion? And let's see whether we can get you this time. A contribution. And we don't want a long please, because I'm bringing Mr. Kamara again to address these issues. Remember, that is my studio guest. And I will also give Mr. Victor a 2 minute, you know, because I think he wants to make a critical point. So, but allow people to make... replying to C1 Adani, but allow people to make their critical points. Of course, people should make their critical point. And what this channel provides is a platform where people should feel free to make their points. Everybody's opinion will be heard. Here is about mutual respect for one another. Everybody has got an opinion. They've got a right to opine on issues, and we have a right to disagree, but we'll provide a platform like a melting pot of ideas where we can have this discussion and see what we can derive from there. Because as a community, as a people, we need to come together. And this is my message as usual, always. Folks, I don't know why it's not adding you. You need to put your gadget in a horizontal position. Other than that, it's not going to work. Let me see. Let me bring Mr. Tima Piman Mansari. I hope you've done the same, Timan. No. Horizontal position. If you don't do it, it's not going to work. And if you're live on some other channel, it's not going to work. To be live on my channel, okay? Folks, I'm trying again because I really want to hear a thing or two from you. That's 1 or 2 minutes, but I don't know why it's not adding you. you need to put your, I'm not saying this again. I think I've said it quite many times and most people will have heard it by now. Your gadget, I don't know which one you're using, if it's a mobile phone or whatever, needs to be in a horizontal position, landscape. That's the only way you'll be able to come on so that we can have a split screen conversation. Okay, a split screen conversation. So ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who just joined, we are talking about the Gron Dry, that famous phrase we don't come on a free tongue, you know how salon people and quick for make something out of slang, even though something like in the morning. So we get a program now today where we get for and against, fine debate. From the beginning, we get Mr. Victor Manley Spain, where the for, we say we need to be patient is indeed true that the Gron Dry, but there are reasons why the Gron Dry, and then reason and they in the end go pay off, so people need for be patient. The next guest to get now Mr. Kamara, Mohamed Kamara. And the government, yes, the Gron Dry, but the reason why the Gron Dry now, because of the government in policies, then the government in policies then don't fail, and the government need for make a U-turn on them policies then they and relax, things so that people then go enjoy whatever benefit, they're supposed for they enjoy. But at some point we lost Mr. Kamara, so we try for entertain one or two different guests for come to the program for give it your opinion. We hear one way call from Boston, Massachusetts area on Mr. Bokari Sao. We make a very critical point that if the economy, Pakaba left 500 million, I don't know how true is that, but I believe say Pakaba be left reserve, but would they say now the same 500 million according to Mr. Sao, now in SuperMed they say the APC government left, then with the dividend. So the 500 million not pay any dividend. So therefore we should not be talking about it. Yeah, that this government, they do well. Things are difficult, but the need for put things into place, like some difficult position and the need for take so that, then go allow things for play out so that they could get a grip of the situation. And then hopefully before the 5-year term, there will be light at the end of the tunnel and people go once again laugh. So this is not the position and this. And Fox, for some reason, is not adding you. Let's see if we can get Mr. Kamara back. Mr. Kamara, if you're still watching, you need to send your invitation now so I can bring you back, because for some reason, we are not getting these two people that want to. Timaya, I can't get you for some reason. Fox is not working. At all. Yeah, you're gonna have to keep trying. Mr. Kamara, if you're watching, you need to send me an invite. I need to bring you on so you can close the program. I need to bring the program to an end. I think I've spoken too much tonight, but of course I have no regrets because it's critical issues and we are having a critical discussion. And I'm happy with the level of participation. And ladies and gentlemen, please share this video. Don't also forget to go to my YouTube channel, Prince space X space then space N space now. Okay, there's a brother who's just made a contribution to the chat room. Who is to blame for the present economic situation in Sierra Leone? Tell us your opinion. Who is to blame? Yeah, it's a question, for the general chat room. Yeah, anybody want to opine on that? Or you, brother, who posted the question, I'm sure you've got an opinion on it. Who is to blame? Give us the answer. That's Mr. Isaiah K. Daniel. Okay, we cannot get Fox, so we'll leave him alone. So we now go back again to SuperMed. Let's see whether we can get SuperMed on the program so we can end this program now. We'll do another 5 to 10 minutes. Mr. SuperMed, welcome. You need to come away from the lights. It's blurring your video.
Yes, sorry about that. It's because I have to charge my phone and my that's why I went off earlier on. My phone went off of charge.
It's unacceptable that you will be coming to the den and now where you are giving a platform, for free, and then you came with 0.5% of your battery.
No, unfortunately, anyway. my phone was charged for 100%, but I had to wait. I don't know if these phones it's go over on the forum. But
this is what's confusing. You can't be in 100 forum. There is going to cut. You will need administrators and secretaries and PAs to help you to catch that inflow, and sifter and see which one you're going to be dealing with. But anyway, thank you for coming back, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Mr. SuperMed. he is the one that is diametrically opposed, to Mr. Victor Manley Spain, who in the conversation was for, and Mr. SuperMed, who is against. Luckily, we have him back. And where we're going to pick up from, I'm going to read a question from somebody in the chat room. Who is to blame for the present economic situation in Sierra Leone?
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Prince. But can I just reply to the brother who called from Boston, Massachusetts?
We will come to that. I know you're itching to go to that. I know that. So you definitely will address that. I know. That's why I decided to bring you back on. But I want a quick answer. It's not a yes or no. If you want to do a yes or no, fine. But you can explain.
It's absolutely this administration, the SLPP government, headed by His Excellency President Madabiu, is to be blamed for the current situation in the country. That's absolutely so. There is no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
So you have heard in the chat room from the man himself, who is to blame, according to him. So we now move on. We had a call from Boston, Massachusetts, from a first-time caller on the show, Mr. Bakari Sau, who most people agree, he has said something which sound a little bit, not a little bit, which sounded objective. So it was more like a mind-boggling contribution that he made, that if you said so, why this? If you said that, why that? And you heard it yourself. Do you want to address it, please?
Absolutely. Thank you very much once again, Brother Prince. The brother said the Kabal government left 500 million US dollar. No, that absolutely not. The time the Kabal government left when the previous administration took over, the reserve in the Sierra Leone Bank was 200 and I think 40 something million US dollars. 240 something million US dollars.
To all credit to the brother, yeah, he did mention the 500, but it was more of a question. It wasn't certain, because he was asking, if it were 500, where is the dividend? Now that you've rectified that it was 200 million, which means that there was a dividend. You see, that's a good point.
A massive dividend for that matter.
Yeah, of course, 300 million, that's over double the initial sum that was there. So carry on, please. Yeah. And he also made, some sweeping, accusations, which I hope you will address. He put the blame, on the present economic, chaos, and he asked quite a nice question that if 11 years ago, and 1 year ago, how can you make the comparison? This was what he said, part of what he said.
It's very simple for me to make the comparison, because like I said, the Kabal government left, President Kabal of blessed memory, left about over 240 something million in the reserve. And this previous government, just a year ago, left over 520 something million. So you can see the dividend, you can see the massive increase. And by the time the Kabal government left out, it was the economy of Sierra Leone, the whole economy was just over 2 billion US dollar. By the time this government left, the previous government, the Kamara administration, it was over 5 billion US dollar. You can see the massive difference. I mean, if it's a company in the Western world, they will say this company in 10 years, the turnover has been massive. So we can see the difference. And we saw the difference as well in the country. People, what we're experiencing now, don't forget, he mentioned the Ebola here, that the people were blaming Ebola. But even during the Ebola, the highest inflation rate we had in the country in the previous regime was 13%. That's the highest. This regime has taken over just for a year, and we've seen the highest the country has ever had in the history of Sierra Leone, 17.9%. This is in the history of Sierra Leone within a year. There's no two way about it. This administration, the policy they've adopted are not working, and they need to make a quick about face turn for the sanity of the people of Sierra Leone, because people are suffering. And it's not just about the Gron Dry. I know the previous guy who called from Massachusetts, he lives in the Western world. Probably he doesn't understand when they say the Gron Dry. When they say the Gron Dry, this is about life and death. This is about people going hungry. This is about people going without their medicine. This is about people sleeping roughly. This is about so many other factors in the country. People drinking, all sorts of things you think about. So the suffering for the people of Sierra Leone is immense. And I want to remind this administration, the SLPP government, headed by His Excellency President Madabiu, that any government, the peace, security, and the welfare of the people of Sierra Leone should be their paramount and the primary responsibility. So they should think about this and say the people probably will not be able to take. But I know other people say, no, give them more years. So do these people?
Yeah, well, exactly. And this is what I was going to ask you. This is a government. Don't you think your criticism is just too harsh? Yes, I don't know, but the guy, yeah, did notice or observed that you sound very much like a opposition figure. And if you are, then people will understand your criticism. But even the criticism for 1 year, don't you think that is too harsh? That the government need, at least you make some good points, that the government needs to do some U-turn in some places, which I believe that they're doing, because it's they obviously seem to have gotten into trouble in some areas of policy. But it's new, it's 1 year, and they will make they will make a difference. And I'm sure they're struggling with those kind of decisions now, because no government wants to see their people suffer as they're suffering or the complaints, because that's not a vote winner, and I'm sure they would like to see themselves re-elected. Don't you feel like your criticism is too harsh?
Not at all, my brother. I'm not speaking as a opposition member or anything. I'm speaking as a patriotic Sierra Leoneans. When my people suffer, I feel the suffering. I know the suffering. I've been there. I've suffered. I've lived in the sub-region. I've lived in most of those countries. I've seen people suffer. I know the suffering. I've experienced during the war, so I know what the people are going through. This is why I'm speaking out, because it's also my responsibility as a patriotic Sierra Leonean to raise my voice, to say something so that the people will know, and even my children will know that, oh, Dad says something when something was happening. I don't want to be complicit.
But Mr. Kamara, what you are speaking to, what you are speaking to, the government will say, and the government supporters will say, all they've done, they have cut down, curtail, stop, block a lot of loose money, which they attributed to corruption, which were corrupt practices that had monies all over the place, while government coffers was getting dry. So all they're trying to do is to introduce fiscal discipline to rein in all this money so that they go in the right direction. That's why, in fact, they will point to the fact that they've raised revenue. Revenue is now up. So that revenue that is up, that used to go into people's pocket, according to them, that's why people are now complaining, because those monies are no longer going in those directions. Instead, they are going into government coffers.
Okay, Brother Prince, let's take it that way, even if the government says so. But let's look at it. The last Christmas, December that passed, the government approved nearly $200,000 for the president and his family for their Christmas celebration. How can that government say they are prudent in economy when they can approve short amount of money within a year? Approving nearly $200,000 just for the first family. Can you imagine when people in Sierra Leone go by maybe over a week without even having $1 to eat? That is just, I cannot in any way accept their case that they want to be prudent, they want to look after the economy, they want to save. I mean, let's not forget. Let's not forget.
Okay, is there anywhere, I think I asked this question, but towards the end of the program, I'm going to ask you this question again, because we're coming very close to the end of the program. We've heard your criticisms. What now would you want the government to do? And just before you saying what you want the government to do or how they should go about it, where are certain places where you think the government is trying and they need to try much more before we come? Because a lot of what you've said has absolutely criticized the government altogether in terms of their policies and their approach to governance. Is there anywhere where they are kind of trying that you could help them up with the direction they're meant to go, or how they need to tune or adjust? Or are you saying that they need to do an about face altogether?
Okay, thank you very much again, Brother Prince. I mean, I like to, because I always say I'm speaking as a patriotic Sierra Leonean. I praise the government free education program, which I always refer to as a people funded taxpayer funded education. I praise that. I think it was a good program, it's a laudable program. But the thing is, the mechanism of implementing it is very, very wrong. I think they should go back to the books, drawing table, and make sure the program is tailored in properly, and the program can benefit the country, can benefit the people. That's one thing I'll tell them. And what I want to say to them, I think they have to do a proper policy rethink. And I think there are certain people in the government who, if this government is ready, and this government is willing, and is prepared to move Sierra Leone forward and take the people away from the suffering. As a finance minister and a bank governor, I think they failed this administration woefully. They failed the administration woefully. They are responsible for what is going on now in this country. And I think the president should look at them keenly and try to ascertain whether these people have been doing their job thoroughly. If not, I believe we've got many, many competent Sierra Leoneans who can replace these two gentlemen. You know, if you are employed by a company, they put you on a probation, maybe for 2 or 3 months. My brother, if you don't give results, you're not going to be employed permanently. You're going to be kicked out. So the government, the ministers are employees of the president. They're working for the people as well here. They are employees. If they cannot do the job, let them leave and let the president recruit somebody else who can do the job. That's very important because the people of Sierra Leone are suffering and the people are crying out to the government. The government needs to do something. I'm also advising the government to forget about this political intimidation. I know we are almost into morning now. They are yielding opposition members of parliament to court tomorrow for nothing because the fabricated petition just to continue intimidating, harassing the opposition does not paint a good picture for the country. And this does not give confidence to investors to come and invest in our country. We need to create a conducive environment, a conducive climate that will encourage investors to come into that country. And the government needs to facilitate that. And they have to stop all this political intimidation, my brother.
Okay, SuperMed, it's always a pleasure, my friend and brother. You know, you're having you on the Then and Now. And earlier on, we also had another friend and brother, Mr. Victor Manley Spain, both in a kind of spicy debate, both for and against. And I'm sure the audience did enjoy this very well. We will come again definitely on the issues regarding the parliamentarians being taken to court because this is a very serious issue. And hopefully Mr. Kamara, who speaks well on this topic, will attempt to bring again because this time I think it's really personal. So we'd like to hear the personal side, both on a personal level and on a national issue. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been a fantastic audience tonight. I must commend you. We've come to the end of the program. I must apologize to Mr. Fox for making many attempts, to opine. I know he's another fiery actor in an opposition. He makes his points known. But unfortunately, this program has ended. And I want to say a big thank you to all of you who attended this program today. Please don't forget to share far and wide because these issues concern us as Sierra Leoneans and to our foreign friends as well. Quite important. Let us live as brothers and sisters despite our differences in opinions or stripes or colors or parties. There's something that unites us all, which is called Sierra Leone, under the flag, green, white, and blue. For me, I've been your host and presenter, Prince Kruma. I want to say good night to you all. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye.